We discuss our final thoughts on the first 5 houses of Halloween Horror Nights 29 on episode 375 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. What's up, everybody? And hello, Internet. What's up, Internet? I've gotten a lot of different ones lately from people on things, so I thought I'd just go through all of them. Welcome to episode 375. With me, of course, I have Tracy.
Hello, everyone.
And Chris.
What up?
And Lee.
Hello, Ron.
And we are here to really break down our Horror Nights 29 thoughts and our final rankings.
For the houses.
Yes. We're not going to talk about our final rankings on this one. That's on the next show. But we are going to talk about each one individually and just like what we thought about them.
I'm sure there'll be some spoilers. It's going to be difficult to try and talk about each of those houses without giving away some sort of indication of where they are.
Unless you're going this weekend. I mean, if you are, then just wait a couple of days and then listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then our final show will, of course, be after the event ends.
Yeah.
Can't believe it's over already.
I know.
This year, more than anything, it was such a huge feeling event, like it was, the 10 houses, the 2 shows. I think the Fountain Show really just made it feel even bigger than it normally does, that it just feels crazy that they're breaking it all down.
Yeah.
It's like, are you serious? You're not going to just keep that up for 2 more months?
I think Ghostbusters also played a part in making it go oh my God, there's Ghostbusters this year.
Yeah. And that huge experience that they did, and it's gone. It's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but that's the nature of the beast. That's how it goes. Yep. It just feels weirder to me more this year than in previous years, I guess.
Next year is the big one.
We hope.
Yeah. Oh,
we realized that potentially if the dates are the same, we could get to go, did I say 6 nights when we're over in October next year?
And we'll do it.
So for sure, ECVs. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was my back, not my feet. My feet were fine. My back was killing me by the end.
My ECV will still help out.
That's true. That's true.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's start off here with Depths of Fear. All right, so I have our rankings previously for our hype list, so I can put those in. Mine wasn't really a hype list, right? That was after I already went. This season has been so confusing.
No, when we had Julie on, you hadn't been, had you? When we did our original house thing and then we did our hype list, I don't think you'd been at that point, had you?
I don't think. I think this was your actual.
Yeah, I think it was. And anybody wondering where Julie is, I think we've said it on a couple of shows. She ended up only making it through 2 houses with us. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately,
those were her top 2.
Yeah, Graveyard Games and Monsters, and she said she wished they'd used makeup on monsters instead of masks.
So Graveyard Games wins. Depths of Fear. This was a really interesting house. Little inside info from our tour guide that they always wanted to do an alien house and never got the license for it. So we got Depths of Fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was enough that it was alien, but they could change up just enough to, make it work. So
but it's kind of funny when I went through it, I didn't see that.
Nope.
As soon as he told us that,
Yep.
I can't not see that when I walked to that house.
That was me as well, Chris.
Yeah.
And I'm walking through going, how did I not see this? How did I not hear it?
Yeah, even the masks on the guys were just the long alien type heads.
Yeah, and I never noticed that until watching the walkthroughs last night.
yeah.
But then, Chris, you pointed out, even over the course of the 4 nights we went, that they reined in the amount of fish guys and replaced them with,
barnacle boys, girls.
Inhabitants, whatever you want to call them.
No, honestly, from the first night that we went, I think there were maybe 5, maybe 6 of those fish guys, the giant fish guys. By the last night, I think I counted 2.
Wow.
And there was a bunch more of these barnacle guys, and you knew they weren't supposed to be there because it was the giant opening for the fish guys, but it's these little guys coming out just kind of scaring you, which I prefer.
Yeah, I think there was logistics issues with getting those things in and out of where they were supposed to be and stuff. And
No, maybe.
I noticed the ones for sure. Like they had one that was kind of up high, like to the left as you walked past it. And that was like one of the first ones that was gone. And I noticed like they would have to like walk up a platform with that suit on, and it's like, well, what are they trying to do to these guys? So yeah, I could totally see why that would happen.
I think it was our second or third run through. I got head-butted by one of them. It was one of the first. The first one or the second one came out and leant forward to do his scare and literally head-butted me.
Oops.
I think one of the favorite things in that house was, and we got stuck there too, was the little one-handed guy that comes from the roof, just kind of like peeps his head down, kind of looks at you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when the line stopped and we were just right there, so he just kept on. I forgot who he was scaring in our group. We just kept on bringing his little hand down and just like scaring him with that little alien thing. It was awesome.
You see how much this house had an impact on me that I have no idea what you're talking about.
Really? Okay.
All right.
Remember a lot of platforms and a lot of fish.
Yeah.
I thought the facade was cool
but
and the entryway
The
was
water
cool.
feature was interesting.
Yes.
Like they got the old like sift. I've used those things like with the panning for gold kind of experiences that they do in different places. They use those same kind of water troughs, but that was interesting just to have running water through it. I didn't quite understand why there would be like this wooden trough thing coming through there, but okay.
Everyone plays with it though.
Yeah, definitely. You got to splash around in there. It's probably disgusting.
Yeah.
I could only imagine. If not from them, it's from the people that are walking through. Ugh, could only
And it
imagine what's on people's hands.
Wasn't this house one of the more controversial ones? There?
Yes, I was going to say
Is the
yes. A
dog-
little bit of controversy, yes, with our little pal Fluffy there. There's it was kind of funny because there's a sign ahead of that shows the dog like living, and it had like a little like Polaroid picture of it and like information about it, like this is the submarine dog or whatever. And then you walk around, and then on the lower left, like you walk down and like to your left at the bottom, it was like crushed in an airlock door. And that got people more upset than anything. All the dead horses and everything, and dead people, children, whatever.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother anybody. But you mess with a dog, that's a big deal.
I didn't see any of that.
No?
I must walk through these things with my eyes closed because I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. They're trying to point stuff out, but I don't know. You were just happy to be there, I think, Lee.
When we get to our lists next week, you'll find my top's my top and my bottom two are kind of interchangeable at this point. Third bottom's somewhere near. And then the ones in the middle are going to be governed by specific moments, I think. Not as a house overall, because I think the middle sort of 6 for me are all very much on a par with each other, and it's going to come down to very specific moments. And for me, Depths of Fear didn't really have one.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. It's pretty general as far as things go. Like I say, it was very just like industrial, walking through. So
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
I did like there was a scene at some point, think near the end, where there's like a red glowing light at the back and one of the fish guys there. And if he backed right, he started off backed up
good.
right against it. You couldn't really see him or the glow, and then he'd step forward and the glow would illuminate him really well. That was fairly decent.
Yeah,
that was a really cool effect. So I like it didn't seem like the effect was done all the way, but they're like in the front, they had like one partially dissected and it was up on like hooks and stuff.
Yeah.
One of the fish things, it seemed like there was supposed to be more to it though. I think if that was a little bit more developed, that would have been a really cool thing too. Because it does harken back to the like the dissection scene, the autopsy scenes from Alien.
Yeah.
So
I think Chris has already said it. It's interesting because we went through 4 nights in a row, and we know the event changes over the course of time, but it was quite surprising how much it changed over the course of just 4 nights. There's one house we're going to talk about next week. The first few times I went through, I was like, eh. And then we went through a first run one night, and we came out and were like, holy and it jumped about 6 places.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
I mean, similar thing with this house. For me, the first time I went through it, it was kind of meh. And then it kind of changed over the course. Like each time I went through it, it changed for me. I thought it was a good overall house just because it had a lot of different aspects to it, right? One of the things I loved about it was the walkway going in with the screens on there. And it's almost like a pre-show to a house you're about to go through. And I really like that aspect. I haven't really seen that done before, I don't think, in Horror Nights. And that was cool. And the sceneries, they used, electricity in some points in there when the wires were hanging. And, it was a nice use of a lot of different, pieces to a house, put together.
True. Good deal.
I think you're on the same. I'd be interested to see where you've got it because I think you're on about the same page as me.
Things are getting said and I'm going, was I there? I remember some parts really vividly, then other parts I'm going, walkway?
I think we
had that fire.
Yeah, the beginning, because the ham actor on the screens, because you commented on how they overacting.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the cue for Transformers. It reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that cheesy 80s movie feel to it. Like Alien.
I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it.
Yeah,
either.
there was nothing to make it stand out.
It was just solid middle ground.
Yeah.
It was fun to go through. It certainly wasn't one that I was going to go, I'm not going through that.
I was trying to figure out. I think we went through every house at least 4 times, and then we did a couple 6, and then a couple of others 7 times. So we did some houses.
Yeah. Did more houses than rides.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we really did.
Yeah.
We did more on the RIP tour. We did the same amount of houses on the RIP tour than we did rides in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me this year, this one and actually all the originals just felt personally not as like fleshed out and like story based as they have been.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about the other ones later, but this one so much felt like a kind of a general IP house, but like it wasn't.
Yeah. That's kind of what it is.
I'll tell you what I did like about it.
It was one of the originals, so.
It was a very tactile house.
Yeah, everyone was. Me and Nina were going through squeezing all the balls on the wall.
Balls.
That's what they look like, those squidgy things.
It was like Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah.
But you had like seaweed and things like that hanging down, and it was like being a kid. You had to touch it.
I think we should have recorded this about 2 weeks ago because my memory of some of these is going to be wrong. This one, I honestly don't remember. That's because you cried so much your brain has shriveled. Quite probably. I don't remember an awful lot about this house, and I think that purely comes down to the fact that it just wasn't very striking.
I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it, and find out that it was not Alien was added to it for me.
Yeah. So our rankings previously were on the hype list where Chris had it at 4, I had it at 5, Lee had it at 6, and Tracy had it at 7. So we'll find out next week.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah,
Perfect.
interesting.
Yeah,
and I
we'll
think
see how it changes.
When you listen to how we've just talked about it, I think that's probably, I don't know where everyone's got it on their list, but that sounds about right.
It sounded, pretty.
It's going to be an interesting summary. Let's just say that way.
Well, tune in next week to find out.
Definitely. All right. Next up, this one I think it'll be a little bit more in your memory. I think Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. This is going to be an interesting
Let Lee go
conversation.
last because Lee talks me out of things.
I'm not trying to talk anybody out of anything. Your opinion is your opinion. My opinion is my opinion. I like Fast and Furious. What the do I know?
Exactly. I really enjoyed this. It was a fun romp. Yes, there were places for improvement. I mean, for God's sake. Dana, armchair. That's as much as I'm saying. That should just add a do not even look sign at it. But I enjoyed it. I thought it had some solid pieces. It was the more I went through, the more I saw. Janine was awesome.
Oh, probably one of the best bits in any house.
Awesome. Sorry, Lewis Tully. That character was the standout star for me. He was brilliant. Well,
he had one line.
There was two casts. But there was one of the two casts. I don't know which cast it was. There was one of them. He was absolutely amazing. He
Probably
gave
the
it
guy
his
who's
all.
just been on Coaster Radio.
And getting high fives is always good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not even looking at you.
I'm
know
not trying
what's
to
cool with
sway
it,
your
I've heard it.
decision.
Look, I'm just gonna say it was a fun house,
Yes.
but they missed a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
Like, we obviously have it pretty high on our list, all of us. We had
Okay.
originally talked about it when we originally talked about
All right,
it.
okay.
But
You shut up.
I think I'm going to speak for all of us that it may have changed a bit.
Perhaps.
There's
Yes.
it was a fun house. You got to see a lot of, if you want to just see how the Ghostbusters, like if you're walking through the movie, then it kind of did that for you at some scenes. But I was hoping we'd see some more, Musion scenes with like with the proton packs, or me and Darren were talking before the show started. And, I was looking over at the video from Hollywood, and this is like one of those few houses that Hollywood, I think, did better than ours over here. Their proton pack scenes were pretty cool. We did some things better, but they did more things better in this house, I think,
That's
even with the Stay Puft. You should watch it after.
Yeah, we will do.
Very interesting comparison.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an okay house. There were some scenes in there that I thought they could have left out, like when we're watching, the gatekeeper just kind of up there, or not the gatekeeper. What's her name? Zool, right?
She left me cold.
Yeah.
That was just a weird scene for me.
Oh,
I
you
stayed
mean
in that room.
when she's like, "Are you a god?" And he comes up
Yeah.
and goes, "No."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just wasn't fast enough because it wasn't resetting fast enough, and I only got
True.
to see it like half of it one time in all of our walkthroughs, which was a lot.
And one of the actors performing that was literally just going through the motions. I mean, I know obviously it's over and over and over and over, but she was just disconnected from the whole part. She was barely moving her lips. It was just, you're bored. You need to bugger off.
I will say this house is one of those houses that if you don't get a good run through, it's bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I said that I walked to this house, I think 2 or 3 times. And each time I go, I am not liking this at all. And then I think, Lee, I was together with you on one of the last run throughs, and everything hit. I finally got the Slimer.
Yeah.
I missed the Slimer every single time on this house. Finally got all the, everything's hitting me, got Slimer at the end. And I'm like, that was actually fun. I enjoyed that. So this is one of those houses that you really got to get a lot of the, hits going through. If not, it's just going to be like, meh.
Yeah.
Yeah. This definitely, I think, is a house that okay, so there weren't any scares to speak of that I can think of at all. Maybe like the first library ghost.
Or the Slimer near the end, maybe.
Yeah. And those, and I think I don't know. It's like that people go through like so slow through it. I don't want to. I think this house would have been great as like a daytime walkthrough attraction, like the Walking Dead thing that they do. Like this is like perfectly geared to that kind of thing, in my opinion. Like I would love to be able to just walk through anytime and see this stuff, and maybe like the effects more enhanced if it was going to be permanent. Obviously, with a lot of the things they had there, but I feel the same way a lot of you guys do. Just kind of like let down, like they could have done some things different and they didn't, and it kind of just bummed me out.
Well, the thing is, they relied too heavily on the fact that it's Ghostbusters, right? We all love Ghostbusters, and they're like, well, it's Ghostbusters, we don't have to do as much stuff. People will love it. That's just my opinion. I think they were kind of running with that, and yeah, there were no real scares in there. It was just kind of watching things happen.
But then you don't always have to have those
I didn't
scares,
expect
though.
any scares.
Something like I think we've discussed it over the years of doing this show that you need that less scary house, because otherwise you just. I mean, I know we don't get scared anyway, but you just get to a point where you become completely
I've lost all
desensitized.
sound. Thanks.
But then it's got to have
these
like
Stranger Things as an example. Stranger Things last year, and I know you didn't get to go through that one. It wasn't a scary house, but they still had their own little kind of certain scenes in there with the Demogorgons and stuff like that were scary, not super scary, but they had some of that in there. This one I just felt like it lacked all of that. Maybe a little bit of jumping if Slimer got you unexpectedly, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I felt like the things that could have been scary were toned down, like the dogs and everything.
Yeah.
Like those could have been way more intense, but I felt like the audio on them and just like their motion and everything was just very like toned down.
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Right. So the first run through, this was the first house we did, obviously, because I was so hyped for it. And I came out of it. That was brilliant.
It was buzzing.
Loved it. And then I did it again, and I was like, something a little off. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. So we went through it again. I was like, it's getting worse every time I do it. And I figured at that point, like, none of the audio's from the film. It all felt like a knockoff version of Ghostbusters.
A good knockoff version, but a knockoff nonetheless.
It was Ghostbusters. It was like, we're going to allow you to do Ghostbusters, but you can't really do Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And then once I hit that point, every subsequent run through it got better. And like, I'm seeing it for what it is now, not what I want it to be. So I did enjoy it. I agree totally. There's no, like, I don't get scared anyway, but there wasn't really any point in it where you saw potential scares.
No.
The Janine scene was awesome. It was awesome, especially like
both
if you
actors
caught her
were
at the
good.
right point when she hit the bell and we joined in and we got the proper reaction out of it. High fiving Venkman at the end.
Yeah.
If you caught the section with the containment unit.
Oh, that was my favourite bit.
Oh, yeah.
With the light
Loved
shining
that.
properly. If you caught that right, but you had to catch it, like
Yeah.
Chris said, you had to catch it right. That was awesome.
Yeah.
It was an okay house. It is about the best I can say.
I think
It relied a lot on your nostalgia.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with it being a nostalgia house, especially for our generation. It had to be absolutely spot on.
And it was
Maybe we were just
yeah.
expecting too much out
No,
of
I
it.
And
think-
probably, that's what I was going to say. And maybe because it's so loved by people, especially us, maybe we did just expect that a little bit too much.
I think Darren set the expectations for this when they released the release video of it. And Darren commented in our little group, it's weird why they haven't got the Ghostbusters music at the end. There's like some weird generic sort of music at the end of it. And I think at that point we should have kind of realised that it's probably not going to be exactly what we want it to be. I'm not quite sure what the licensing rights for it is, how they're going to let you do Ghostbusters, but not let you do Ghostbusters.
Maybe this was a light proof of concept to say, all right, you can do like the new Ghostbusters movie next year for your 30th.
I'd be up for that.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be. So I don't know. Maybe that's what that is, and so this one didn't quite have as much time and development to do everything they wanted to do. I don't know. There's a lot of things that can happen in the background of these things that are crazy. So,
Well, just going off what you said there, and remember in the gift shop, the Horror Nights gift shop, the wall in the background had a bunch of stuff there, like if they're going to do the house again next year already, right? It had a set of keys hanging.
Yes.
Saying save for do not lose or something like that, and it had like schematics and stuff like that, where it's kind of teasing that, hey,
there's also a lot of hints to the Ghostbusters 2, so it might even just be that, like Ghostbusters 2 next year, and then the new thing the year after. Who knows? But I think this is something that might stick around for a little bit, to judge the popularity of it. So,
or it could even do 2 and 3, like they did Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Since this is a direct, since the new one coming out next year is a direct sequel to part 2.
It was always going to be popular. They slapped it at the front of the park. They marketed
yeah.
the hell out of it. And, and to be honest, the lines were never that bad. I've felt overall this year, the 4 nights we did, I think we could have comfortably got through everything we wanted to, really, without RIP. And then we wouldn't necessarily have needed Express on the other nights. We did, and we got through more than we would have done. But I think you could quite comfortably have got through everything.
Yeah,
I agree with you on that. Yeah,
I actually had a friend go the Sunday before Halloween, and he got through all 10 houses, watched 2 shows, and actually went through Ghostbusters again without Stay and Scream and without the Express.
Without Stay and Scream?
Yes, without Stay and Scream, without Express.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. And they even waited for House of 1,000 Corpses to open first. That was the first house they went through. So, and that's not even one of like the first opening ones.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's pretty good, though. I mean, what is that saying? Is it there's not less people,
No.
but
I mean,
you know what?
and
The 10
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
At this point of the year, maybe operations is finally in full swing. It's kind of happens that way every year. It's like right at the end, it's like, all right, we got this down, and then we have to hire all new people for next year.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I think we all pretty much said everything we could about Ghostbusters. I'll say our previous rankings were Chris had it at number 1. I had it at number 2. Lee was at number 1. And Tracy, number 2.
Next week's list to go on. This is the one I'm looking forward to. Probably the most to see where it is on people's lists.
Yeah.
Also,
we're gonna-
another number pattern here. So
Yeah. So we will go ahead and take a quick break, and we will be right back with Graveyard Games.
Mouse and Muggle Travel Company, our services are completely free to you. We don't just do Universal. We can do Disney. We can actually do anything. I don't know if anybody knows that. We can do anything. We can book absolutely anything, and it's super easy. We have a website. Just go to mouseandmuggle.com, and we have a link there for a free quote request. You just fill it out. That email comes straight to me, and either Robin or I will handle it, or if we're a little bombarded, then we'll send you off to one of our expert agents. But we'll take good care of you. So reach out to us at any time.
All right, and we are back, and let's talk about Graveyard Games. Chris, you had this one. Actually, all you guys had this one pretty low on your list. I'm gonna go ahead and say these ones at the beginning because this one, Chris had this at number 10. He had it at 8. Tracy had it at 9.
Uh-huh.
I had it at 3, actually. So I was really hyped on this one, and I got to say, it delivered as much as I expected it did to me personally. I really enjoyed it. I knew the concept was going to be interesting. I knew Mike Aiello had been traveling. I follow people way too closely, but I know he had been over to Paris.
Yes.
And a couple of other places, Louisiana, and just been walking around graveyards and checking them out. And wonder why. And then comes out the Graveyard Games original concept. And they really, I think, captured that like feeling of a really old, like, rotted cemetery that's, had its share of vandalism throughout the years, so you had these knocked over tombstones, spray paint, that kind of thing. And vengeful spirits that were, kind of punishing these two teens, Sid and Nancy, which I thought was a great little throwback.
I love that.
Great reference. I thought this turned out to be really cool. I loved it. I loved everything about it. The effects, the ghosts themselves, I like the mix of ghosts and corpses that were attacking. Just like the overall ambiance, the blue light in there and everything. I just really dug it.
I liked it.
yeah,
I liked it.
We went through it on Thursday night, our first night, and I was like, eh. And then we did the Behind the Screams tour on the Friday morning, and it certainly changed my opinion of it.
It's a very photogenic house, is what I'll say. I could have spent hours in there taking photographs.
I have mentioned that a lot of these middle houses are going to be governed by moments. This had 2 of my favourites.
Yes.
There is a corridor scene where there's all candles lit up, and I think there's like the mother spirit, whatever she's called. I can't
it's like
remember
a mausoleum, isn't it?
And you hear her talking, and she does like some chant, and then blows the and all the candles go out down the corridor. I love stuff like that. That just sends chills down your spine.
I got it one time, and it was so good.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yes.
And then the black room, which is the soundproof room that we got told on the Behind the Screams, is they've always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And they built a room inside a room and insulated it. And it's pitch black with just like the ghostly voices in sort of 3D surround sound. So cool.
I would have put money on somebody who's actually there whispering in my ear.
So good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, the audio design in this was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It jumped a hell of a lot of places on my list, is all I will say.
You missed a bit out with that corridor with the candles going out. At the end was the wall of infant
Oh
bodies
yeah, with the pop-up
and the
heads.
heads
That was one of my favorite effects of all time
Yeah.
in any house.
that was so good.
Yes, that, and I love the chattering urns. It gave me like a little haunted mansion kind of throwback feeling to it, but
Yeah, I
then
like
also like a really real creepy feeling because I've been in a lot of mausoleums where they have like those open, the open glass kind of I don't know what you call those, like places or whatever, and then you can see the urns and things inside, and it's just that's so creepy.
Yeah. There
You
was
guys are
times
not going to like my opinion of this house.
Oh, I'm wait. Well, you can wait then.
I was just going
I'll
to say
wait. Yeah.
there was times in that house
it
though
up.
with the trees and things that it did actually obviously the use of aircon and stuff like that. It did feel like you were outside at
It
times.
was a very expansive house. I think
Yeah.
one of the things going back to Ghostbusters, it was a very short house. This felt like a very long house.
Mm-hmm.
It did.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think the story, you kind of knew the story, and I think it was told quite well through the course of the house as well.
Mm-hmm.
It really took me by surprise.
I'll say the only things I did not like about the house, the two things I did not like are, this will just lead into Chris here. I didn't like the final versions of Sid and Nancy like tied up, like their faces and stuff. I didn't like how they extreme like
All stretched
know.
open, yeah.
Grotesque.
Yeah, like I don't
Yeah.
I don't
Like
know like how
Beetlejuice.
that happened. Yeah, I guess it was, to me it was like they were trying to evoke like that part of the movie The Ring at the very beginning where the
Yeah.
person's in the closet.
Yeah.
And you see that face, like that's still burned into my head for all time. But they were like trying for it and just didn't quite hit for me personally. That I didn't like. It kind of took away from the realism of the rest of the house. And the other thing that bummed me out is a very personal thing, but they had all those headstones everywhere and no references to like old stars, like anybody, like people that were involved in
nothing.
Horror Nights previously.
Yeah.
I think the only reference was it Talbot, Tracy? Did we get told one of the tombs as you go in was the Talbot? I can't
Talbot
remember what the
tomb.
reference
that's-
was.
That's Universal Monsters.
Yeah.
Oh, then there was a
Monsters.
Collins. Wasn't there a reference to Nick Collins somewhere in there? Was one of the
that rings-
creative
I
guys.
think that's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah, on this one. There was like a Collins mausoleum on one side. But everything else was very generic. It's one that you'd expect on like every headstone could have had a reference to somebody. So I was kind of bummed about that. That was when I was like excited to look around and like kind of explore as I walked through, and I didn't really get
Yeah, well, you said to us, Darren, about doing the behind the screens one would have been perfect one to do for looking for that stuff, and there wasn't anything at all.
exactly. I was like, "Where's Grommel? Where's Aiello? Where's
Yeah, especially with this being Mike's
Julie? Where's
final
Yeah.
year. Yeah,
Jack Schmidt's tomb over there? Like,
Yeah.
where are the references to next year? There's nothing in there, so it's kind of a bummer."
Missed opportunity.
speaking of bummers,
Yeah. Speaking of bummers, Chris.
Hey. Yeah, I don't know. This house did not do it for me. I think the way Lee and Tracy, the way you guys felt about Depths of Fear, this was that same house for me. It was non-memorable to me.
Yeah.
I to like when I was doing this list, I had to rewatch a couple of the houses just to kind of get some fresh ideas.
Mhm.
I watched this one, even though I walked through this one a bunch of times. Had to watch it again because I forgot it from just the video that I watched. It just it wasn't a bad house. Like, there was a lot going on, but it just, for me, it didn't stick. It didn't really do much for me. I will say the cool things in this house were, some of the scare actors, like the ones that were dressed up as stones. That was really cool. That one looked really nice. I did like that black room in between,
Yeah.
and then the last scene in there. I think that's my favorite part of the whole house, where it's like that music. You're like dead now, and you're going to heaven or something.
no, you're
and
not.
then-
You're not dead. We got told you're not dead.
Yep.
You do not die.
Oh, well then, there you go.
You're not allowed to die on property, or not the other
No,
park, isn't it?
no, it's Depths of Fear that you die in.
Yes.
So what's that last piece in there?
No one.
Okay.
I think it's like
Yeah.
Sid and Nancy's like
Yeah, you're
like you're seeing that like through their eyes.
You're
Well, I did-
experiencing what death would be like.
Okay. Well, that
Well, yeah, I
was
guess
a really
either way.
that was a really cool room. I'll say that
Mhm.
little ending piece and the scare actor at the bottom
Mhm.
got a lot of people.
Yes.
A lot of good scares out of there. So yeah, that was the cool parts of the house for me. But aside from that, it was kind of, it just, I don't know, it didn't stick to my brain
I
like
did.
some of the other houses did.
Tracy and I were talking about it last night, and I think the two houses that were kind of next to each other at the back of the park, they did themselves an injustice a little bit. I think Monsters and Graveyard Games shouldn't have been so close together because there was parts of both of them that I was struggling to differentiate because they're a little bit similar. So I don't think they should have been as close together as they were.
They could have done the first house where you split off inside the house as to which house you want to go to.
Yeah.
Like the first third of it, it could have been either one, because they did start off with all the cemetery scene like that, and it was a very similar cemetery. There wasn't much difference between the two, so definitely
interesting.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one. When I think they did a lot more justice to getting as accurate to the movie as possible.
Yes,
I think did use some original audio and stuff like that in there.
Yes.
House of 1,000 Corpses. Who wants to kick this one off?
It was
Lee,
awesome.
Why don't you kick it off?
It was awesome. It was so cool. Like, I really enjoyed the film. The house was we're going to talk about an original next week. That's everything I want a Halloween Horror Nights house to be. You want to talk about everything an IP house at Horror Nights should be? This was it.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect.
Yes.
It really was. It was awesome. Like, every bit you would want to see from that film was there, done perfectly.
Not every bit.
What are we missing?
We didn't have like the car on the driveway.
You were never going to get that.
Yeah, no, but that was
The murder ride.
That's
true.
murder ride.
True. Yeah, I don't know how you would have done that though.
That's the only thing. I was quite happy with what I got.
It always was going to be dicey, like having like Albert Fish, like real serial killers in there. But.
It's not a deal breaker. I love this house. It was an absolute romp from start to finish.
Oh, it was amazing.
It was fun. If you do jump and you're not dead inside, there were some good jump scares in there.
Oh yeah.
Not for me because I'm dead inside.
Same here.
I'm the one who brings the Christmas candy.
I just remember you and Darren going through that bit. The Dr. Satan was just absolutely
so
perfect. That whole it was awesome.
Oh man,
I don't know what else to say about it. It was perfect.
And I had the facade in the front when you're in line, just going through the house. That was awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if you want to start off with that real quick, homage to Bill and Ted there because they had the telephone booth.
Yep.
From Bill and Ted out front, and as our tour guide kept stressing for us, they like to put little hints and references to next year and this year's houses. So who knows?
I think I think a lot of the things he told us that night I think there was some red herrings in there as well.
Sure. I'm sure there may have been, but there were a lot of things that make sense too.
Oh yeah. Watching us go through the Stranger Things house was interesting. All trying to look at the videos.
Yeah. We'll talk about that one. I think we can blow the lid off that at this point because not many more nights left of Horror Nights. But going back to House of 1,000 Corpses, just like that, the facade outside, the neon lighting, especially on nights where it was like really humid and foggy outside, like seeing that like just like pierce through the fog was just so cool.
Yeah.
Walking into the house, having Captain Spaulding there first and foremost, looking to the right, seeing the dead body on the floor, and he's giving you the spiel and holding his fried chicken. Yeah. Just so good. Nina hitting the bell every time we went through and him just like zeroing in on her every time. It was great. The scare actors, if you love this movie, the scare actors knew it right off the bat and they played with you all the way through. I tell you, I had the best run that I've ever had in a house in all the years that I've been doing this in this house. It was like I got every single scare, every single person jumped out. And then when I was reacting, they were reacting back to me, like, because I was just so happy. I had like the biggest smile on my face going through this. I'm like, because it's unbelievable because I love this movie so much. And then on top of that, I'm having the best run of my life, going through. I'm with like everybody. It's just so cool. So it's like, they're seeing that and they're just playing right back with that, especially, the baby characters and everybody like that. Every time you go through and they see you having fun, they're just like right there. So
yeah. Do you remember me saying at the beginning that it's going to be difficult to talk about a lot of these houses and not give away where they are on your list. Guess which number? Have a guess which house so far is Darren's favourite.
Maybe. I don't know. Could be obvious, but like you said, the Dr. Satan scene, the transitions in this house are so good.
Yeah.
Going from the gas station to the house, do you even remember it? Like how you like split from one to the other? Because I don't.
No.
I just remember being at the gas station and then like I'm in the house like, and then like from the house
that room with all the video on the roof.
Yeah, no, that was further in, wasn't it? I thought that was further in with the music playing, like the actual soundtrack. I thought that was further in.
And then the Dr. Satan, transitioning from the house to the Dr. Satan part by, that
like
gradual transition, like going down, underground.
Yeah, it was.
It's just so cool. And this, of course, the house is made for it. This is the IP that is made to be a house because it was a house first. We always have to go back to that. And this is in Hollywood. This was the house before it became the movie.
Which I think is so cool.
Yeah. Like Rob Zombie had an idea and he wanted to run through like his ideas for the movie in a house, and Universal, agreed to it. And they did it. And, it was like 3 years later that House of a Thousand Corpses came out. So just really cool.
This is how you do, like you said, or Lee, like you said, which one of you two, but how you do an IP house.
Yeah.
How it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, they hit everything or mostly everything you want to see in there. The energy was extremely high in that house, whether that's coming from the people or coming from the scare actors, but you were just hyped.
Yeah.
Even right when you were walking into the house. Like I said, the front of the facade of that, house was amazing, right? It still blows my mind how they can build things to look identical, right? In such a short amount of time. Yeah. And just going through everything. It literally felt like you were walking through that movie.
Yeah, even the clown at the very beginning, like with his hand out.
Yeah, that was
waiting for the
brilliant.
handshake. Yeah.
Well, we went through. Jamie Drewley met up for us from Holy Backcast and Real Fans and whatever the hell else he's on, and he's like you, Darren. He's like a huge House of a Thousand Corpses, and he was giddy going into that house, and he came out. Well, he was just like, oh my God, that is the best house I have ever been through in my life. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. This is the difference between working with a creator that loves horror events and things like that, and then working with like corporate people.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
1000%.
It was awesome.
You let Horror Nights do what they do best with your property, and this is what they can do for you.
Yeah.
So just let them do it.
And it's like you look at we've already done it tonight. You look at Ghostbusters and compare it to House of a Thousand Corpses, and it's night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So yeah,
I'm interested to see where everyone's got this on the list.
Well, previously on our list, Chris had it at number 5. I had it at number 1. Tracy had it at number 4. And Lee was number 3.
Ooh.
Let me just check
I'm
my
sure
list.
Darren's changed.
I've got my list up next to me, so I'm comparing.
Mine's changed, I will say.
I'm giving nothing.
I just want to get to the end of next week's show so we can find out where everyone's lists are.
Okay, let's skip all the way there.
And next we'll talk about another house where the creators were definitely excited and involved in getting this the way it was and actually getting it off the ground at all. And that's Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
Oh my God.
Again, another one we did on Behind the Screams tour.
Yeah, and we had the Kyoto brothers on the show to talk about the Scare Zone last year and how excited they were just to see that. So we kind of felt at that point, it's like it's inevitable. A house is coming. It's gotta. We didn't know if it was going to be this year, but it was, and it's so great. So happy that you guys got to come and see it.
You're happy. Oh my God.
Especially Tracy.
Oh my God. This just delivered for me. It was everything I wanted and more, and I loved it, and I would have just gone through it over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Put it this way.
Just amazing.
I think this is the house that we did the most.
Is that because I pouted?
I think, because I know we did it twice the first night.
Yeah.
So I think this is the house we've done the most.
And also, Rich made sure it was the first house we did in the RIP because I said it was my favourite.
I think so.
Yep.
I
remember this
no,
house was
no,
a
it
lot
rings
of fun
bell.
to go on our groups because I know Robin would get freaked out like hell, and Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of the funniest things to watch was when we went to like one of the final rooms where all the, they're hiding behind
The cotton candy pods,
the
yeah.
cotton candies, yeah, and they all saw Robin, and all of them just went right after her,
Awesome.
one after the other, and she like fell to the floor almost, and like because she just got scared, jumped one way, there was one right there,
Oh,
he scared
man.
her back the other way, kept on jumping around. This was just such a fun house to watch people get scared, and if you got scared from that,
Yeah,
it
and
was
the
great.
beauty was that we had, like, on our RIP tour, like 5 or 6 proper screamy girls as well. So
Yes,
it was awesome.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Clownzilla,
Oh,
Who
yeah.
wasn't always working.
wasn't
I
always
will
working.
be disappointed
when it was
with.
working, was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, you walk in and you've got the shadow puppetry on the wall.
Darren,
where
you're not going to get a word in edgeways, by the
Sorry,
way.
you will. You will in a second. And it's one of, I think it was 3 different clowns.
Yes.
Either waving or doing something. And it started strong and just carried on. I'll shut up now. Getting
No,
lost.
I was just gonna say, not only did Conzilla just not always work, on the first Saturday of the event, he didn't even have a nose.
Really?
And it just really made me wonder if it fell off on somebody as they were walking through. I'm like, wow, that was a really intense effect.
What they should have had was a load of confetti cannons going off in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That
first
is how you
for
kill
our-
a clown.
Yeah.
Kill a
my
clown,
first
sorry.
walkthrough, I was very confused by the Clownzilla because he did not have a nose. So
Clownzilla has no nose.
So I'm going
How
to
does he
say,
smell? Terrible.
and compare it to Ghostbusters again. Both very similar in kind of what they are. They're offbeat, like not particularly scary houses, but
Potentially some good jumps in
Killer
there.
Clowns, I think, nailed the source material better than Ghostbusters did. I just
Yeah.
need to check
Which
my
was-
list.
which was surprising to me because it was in the quote unquote like interpretive section of the park, which is like the Shrek area.
Yeah.
Typically you get like an idea house there more than like an actual like scene for scene recreation. And they did quite a few scenes like straight up there, and they did a really good job with them. I was surprised to see them in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because they have to do a lot of like sheeting and that kind of thing. They don't have like a lot of space for physical walls in there. So
Well, that's what I was going to mention. They did a lot in this. Like when you're going down that alleyway, they packed a lot of stuff into that one alleyway, right?
Yeah.
It was a very
'Cause
busy house.
You had the stuff. It was extremely busy.
Yeah.
You had the boxing clown. You had the wall puppets on the against the wall, and then you had the 2 little puppetry.
Puppet show, yeah.
Yeah, that puppet show.
Yeah.
I mean, this was all almost in the same area.
It was, you're
And
right.
so it was a really good job they did in bringing all this different sets, but it didn't feel like it was crammed together. Like you're just going through this, just loving one thing after the other.
Yeah.
And the use of space there, I thought was really well done.
Yeah.
There
And
was
it's
some
one
really
of
good
them-
set pieces as well.
Playing the
Oh, yeah.
Dickies song coming out at the end, you
Yes.
just come out in a good mood.
On
It
a
was
high.
it was just a good mood house. You come out
Yeah.
buzzing.
Yeah. And I've got to say, it kind of stuck with me the entire time around the park. 'Cause every time I saw popcorn on the floor, I go, whoop, baby clowns. It's just-
yeah,
yeah,
it was it's a great mix of like fun and scares. They
Yeah.
had a lot of good distraction scares in this
Mhm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Where like you'll be looking over here at this big huge set piece, and then like somehow this giant clown will jump scare you from the side.
Yep.
And they actually got me a couple of times in here, and pretty hard to get. So
Yeah, and that was the thing, because when we talked about it transitioning from a scare zone to a house, we were worried that the clowns being as big as they are, how they would put them in a house and how it would work as far as scares and stuff. And they really nailed. I mean, again, we're 4 people who don't really get scares, but we still appreciate the art of that scare, and there was a lot of them still crammed into this house.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the little guys.
Oh, I love
Oh.
those guys. Yes.
Oh, the
I
little-
love seeing them.
yeah.
Made me so happy every time I saw them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the buttons.
Yes. Oh, yeah. A lot of buttons that did fun things in this
Yes.
one.
Not necessarily just to other people.
And finding
either.
out that, first time, yep, you're right. Second time, tut, 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 and it gets you. I can't remember the third one.
Don't know,
Third
but I
one is
squirted
emptied.
Andy in the face when we went through it the first night.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You like the
That's fun.
flirty female clown, didn't you?
Yeah, she was my favourite.
Oh, no, I just... I'll be
It was just-
remembering
I
that
wanna
one for a
walk
very
through it
long
right
time.
now.
Yeah, it was good. It was, and it's going to be I will preface this by saying my list doesn't necessarily reflect that, but there's a reason why. But it was good. It was exactly what you wanted a Killer Clown's house to be.
It was just it was just silly and fun, and it just translated from the
It was
screen.
Killer Clowns.
It was awesome.
And and when was the last time we had a photo op in front of a house?
Exactly.
I know.
Which
So
we
that was
didn't
kinda
actually do during the event.
No,
Just
we
got it on like the last day. It's like, oh, we haven't done this yet. Let's run it as we were running back to the hotel to go to the airport.
I did box with Shorty though at
Scare
Actor
yeah,
Dining.
True.
That was cool.
Yeah, so very cool, great representation, I think.
Yeah.
Very neat. Previously on our list, Chris. Actually, we'll start off with Tracy in number 1.
Oh, what a surprise!
Yes, Chris number 3, Lee at number 5, and I had it at number 7. I'll say I was a little iffy about the Shrek location, but they impressed me with that, so I'll say that it has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna find that out next week.
Ooh.
Because that is it for this week. And we're going to end with another Universal Is. Of course, if you want to be involved, email us your answer to what Universal is in 3 words or less to podcasting, UUOpodcast.com. And this one is from Chris.
What?
Yeah. So Chris, tell us. Universal is.
Universal is home to E.T. See you next week.
Cut, print, that's a wrap for another episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Never miss a show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review while you're there. Not an Apple user? You can listen on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, or your podcatcher of choice. Email us any questions or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. Keep up with the latest news, rumors, and updates on our blog at uuopodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next week.